Okay, good evening. My name is Amy Paul. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Library Trustees, and we are calling this meeting to order at 6:07. Do I have to say the date? It's 6 p.m. 6:07 p.m. on Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. We are in the library conference room. And I'm Amy Paul, I'm Vice Chair.
Jean Santolo, Trustee.
Katie McGonigal, Library Director.
David Boucher, Trustee.
Larry Bauman, Secretary.
So we have no public here and no public comments that I'm aware of. We'll move on then to the meeting minutes from April 21st, 2024. Thank you, Larry. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Yeah. Any concerns or comments or corrections on the minutes? Would anyone like to make a motion to?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 21st, 24 meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
Vote, please. We have to vote, right?
Yes.
Aye.
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 All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We can edit that part out. Motion carries. And now we have Katie with the director's report.
Thank you. So I'll start with all ages, just kind of give a recap. I know we've talked a little bit about the summer reading program, but it did end in August. And since we are talking about August, I just wanted to share that we had a really successful summer reading program. We had over 1,300 people register for the program. There was almost 2 million minutes read, and we've had such positive feedback from the community. We had wonderful support from our friends group, from the board, from the historical commission. A lot of our community was very actively involved, and we're just really grateful to everyone who helped make this a success. The team did send thank you letters to the friends and to our community partners for their incredible support and generosity. And we'll be planning for next summer shortly. For children highlights, during August there were 10 programs. There were 450 people that attended those 10 programs. For the passive programs, there were 1,644 participants. And the Children's Department had 301 reference transactions. Due to continued high patronage in the Children's Department and limited spacing, the activity room has been set up for patron use. So staff have kind of restructured that space, and now there are toys and games, manipulatives, and crafts. And so patrons can kind of go in as needed, and there's been a lot of positive feedback from that. There are still occasions where we have so much programming going on that we do have limited space in the building, so they do still use the activity room for some programming. So during that time, the room gets kind of shifted back for programming purposes, but it's been a really nice option for families to go in and get to explore that space. As I mentioned, the summer programming was really successful, but that has now ended, and the Children's Department is full on programming and launching into their fall sessions. And I just wanted to point out that they are continually doing the 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program, and they have a lot of folks that are signed up for that, so that's great. For teen highlights, there were 4 programs, 23 program attendees, and there was 1 passive program, and there were 19 participants for that. Erica, who is the Teen Services Supervisor, created a survey to gauge teens' interests and availability for programming, so she has shared that out. And that went out through the library's newsletter, there's signage in the building, it's been distributed during programs, and it was emailed to the superintendent of schools to then share out to the principals for the high school and the middle school. During the month of August, the Teen Services Supervisor created 3 new displays for the teen area bulletin boards to highlight monthly celebrations like authors, literary events. Another one is dedicated to teen art. So up in that area during August, the kind of theme was Pieces of Us, and there were supplies available for teens to use so that they could participate. And then another of the bulletin boards was like a welcome back theme to back to school. The teen collections have also been moved to best meet the needs of the space and the teens searching for items upstairs. The tween area was moved across from the information desk, and it's kind of that first shelving unit right next to where the teen services supervisor sits in like that fiction area. The new books have been moved to where the tween was, so it's right outside the reference office. Teen large print is right next to that, so it's kind of the new books and the large print are side by side upstairs. And then the manga was moved to the seating area where the new books had been. And Erica did, when she was doing all the shifting around, she dedicated and organized like a teen games craft shelf where the manga had been. So there's board games and art supplies, bracelet making supplies, puzzles. So we do have a lot of patrons that will be in that area looking for something to do. I think there's like a checkered board out there right now. So we're trying to make sure that we have things for folks to do when they come into the building. And there's free books upstairs, so people are welcome to take those. They're up on the windowsill by the computers.
And that's separate from the Friends sale.
Yes. And one of the programs that was held during August was about vision boards, and here's just some pictures of what they were able to create. For adult highlights, there were 13 programs, 118 program participants. There were 211 reference transactions up at the information desk. There were 242 hours of study room use, and 5 requests went unfulfilled. The Adult Services Department continues their busy programming schedule, including book clubs, Friday flicks, craft programs, and outreach into the community. We had planned to be at National Night Out, but unfortunately that was canceled due to inclement weather, but we hope to be there next year. Another successful end of summer program was held with Matt York at the library, and this program was funded by a Massachusetts Cultural Council grant. And the program was well attended. And you can see that I took a snip here of Matt York actually sharing out our publicity to help kind of cross-promote the program at the library. In the circulation department, 10,658 items were circulated during the month of August. This is a decrease of 831 from July, but it is an increase of 474 from the previous August. There were 82 new patron registrations, 90 reference transactions, 16 non-library meeting room uses, and Christina this is a new stat that we think is very interesting, we wanted to include, and then another one that we thought was interesting and wanted to include is that we had 87 volunteer shelving hours.
And is this part of the senior, or is it different?
That's part of it, but.
There are other volunteers too?
Yeah, so there's SWAP, we have some local school volunteers that are looking for service credit hours. We have just interested folks from the community that want to come support the library. So we're very fortunate. Our staff obviously is also shelving all the time, but with the amount of items that we are circulating or kind of having to reshelve, it's a lot of work. So we're really grateful to our volunteers. They do a really nice job. The library replaced 4 of the older hotspots with brand new devices, and we added 1 more hotspot to our Library of Things collection. So now there are a total of 10 hotspots. These items are very popular, especially during the summer when patrons take them on vacations or out camping. The circulation department sent 1,096 items out in delivery during the month of August. This is an average of 41 daily requests. So like when we're doing our pull list, so when people place holds on items, we're pulling those items to keep here for people to pick up, but also they then get sent out through delivery to the other CWMR's libraries. Excuse me. The door count was boosted on August 28th, 29th, and 30th with students returning to the library for visits after school. There were many familiar faces and groups of new patrons visiting the library to attend programs, use study rooms, socialize, and check out materials. We are very busy. For tech services, there were 673 items added and just 1 item deleted from the collection during the month of August. There, as you'll recall, as we close out the end of the fiscal year for ~24 and we open up the beginning of the fiscal year for '25, we do have a hold on our orders as we're closing out and reopening. So there's kind of a pause for a little while, and then when we started back up in mid-July, a lot of the shipments started coming in end of July, beginning of August, so it was just like an onslaught during August to get, there was a lot of items that came in, and they got out almost 700 items just during August, which was a lot. The Tech Services Department is coordinating with all the other departments to ensure that ordering is running smoothly. And Tech Services is working with the Circulation Department on adding items and creating a new adopt-a-book program. That has since launched, and I will fill you in on that next month. For professional development, during the month of August, staff attended the following sessions: creating accessible image descriptions from Perkins Access, quarterly tea with MOD, hosting accessible events and meetings, creating accessible web content from Perkins Access, state aid and financial form training from MBLC, iStream, Ustream from the ALA and PLA, so American Library Association, Public Library Association. The town IT departments know before Kevin Mitnick's security awareness training, and an EnvisionWare self-check stations and external hold lockers overview. Any questions so far? No? Okay.
Are we getting hold lockers?
I am exploring the idea of that. Be very exciting if we did. For library update, the ARIS report was submitted on August 9th, and the financial report is due on August 4th. I'm almost finished with that financial report. We made a change, like an update to the library's website, and we added a section called Suggest a Purchase. And it's available actually in 2 different locations on the website, but it'll give folks an opportunity to suggest something that they might like to see added to our collection. And it will obviously be considered and then kind of cross-checked against our collection development policy. For building updates, we had the floors waxed in the lobby and in the children's area. It looks lovely, it's nice and shiny, so that was nice. For town use, the town clerk department had early voting from August 24th to August 30th. And then just as a preview, the town clerk is also going to do early voting for the election in November, so that'll happen here in October. Today, we're going to review the meeting room and social media policies. And then for the strategic plan and executive summary was submitted to and approved by the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. Once it was approved, it was shared with the community through a display and flyers in the library, emailed to the town departments and schools, posted to the library website, blasted to the mailing list, and shared on the socials. And just a reminder that our next meeting is Wednesday, October 16th.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Very good report. I'm very excited about the lockers, too.
Very hopeful. It was a very interesting meeting, and there's other vendors, so I'm trying to begin to kind of.
We moved that the 16th, is it?
We moved the February meeting. I don't know if.
You had notes on yours.
Yeah.
You had a sticky note you just had.
Huh?
Jean did. Yes, I think it's just February.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
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 I was just complimenting us on having that well in advance to someone else, so,
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, thanks.
yes, nicely
It
done.
is good.
Nicely done. Okay, we have now old business, including our meeting room policy, which I believe we went through last month, and this is the change to the last page.
There's more changes.
Okay, what else is there?
Um,
Should we read it again,
You
or
might
do you
want
want to? Okay.
Has everyone read it?
I
Last
only read
month.
the last page because I thought that was
Okay.
the only change we had made.
No, there's more changes.
Oh,
So, true confession, I
Okay, so
didn't
now
read
would be
the
a
whole
great time to
thing.
read it.
I will read it.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the draft with modifications that we reviewed last month. Okay. Introduction. The East Long Meadow Public Library's meeting rooms are used primarily for library and library-sponsored programs, Friends of the East Long Meadow Public Library, and East Long Meadow Town Departments. Library and library-sponsored programs and Town of East Long Meadow meetings are exempt from this policy. Subject to availability, the meeting rooms are available for public use by application for free and open 1. Charitable, 2. Civic, 3. Cultural, 4. Educational, or 5. Intellectual activities. Meeting room facilities shall be made available on an equitable basis. The use of the meeting room space must always be subordinate to the paramount need to provide a safe, peaceful, and respectful environment in which to read and study. Meeting rooms available. Number 1, community room, 50-person capacity, tables and chairs, drop-down projector screen, podium. Number 2, conference room, 10-person capacity, conference table and chairs that are not removable. The library shall follow guidelines set forth by government officials, the town manager, and the library director as to the number of people who will be permitted to attend an event in either the community room or the conference room, including during a public health emergency. Meeting room scheduling. 1. Library-sponsored, Friends of East Long Meadow Public Library and Town of East Long Meadow programs and meetings have priority over all outside groups. The library director reserves the right to reschedule confirmed reservations to accommodate library and town programs and events. Meeting rooms may be booked for a maximum of 2 hours, which includes setup and takedown time. Meetings must occur during regular operating library hours. All meetings must end 15 minutes before the library closes. Meeting rooms may be reserved up to 2 months in advance of the meeting date. No more than 4 reservations per calendar year may be made by any one applicant or group. Recurring meetings, daily, weekly, monthly, will not be permitted. Guidelines. All meetings shall be free of charge and open to the public. No fundraising, promotions, or sales of service or products, merchandise, materials, or other items are allowed, unless such promotions or sales are approved in writing in advance by the library director. Meeting rooms shall not be used for private parties or social gatherings, entrepreneurial or commercial purposes, solicitation of business, worship services or ceremonies, political campaigning, or proselytism. Meeting room reservations must be made by written application, completed in full, and submitted to the library director or designee at least 2 weeks in advance of the requested meeting date. Applicants will be provided the patron behavior and safe child policies. Applicants and attendees are responsible to abide by all library policies, which are listed on the library's website at eastlongmeadowlibrary.org. The release of all claims form must be completed in full on the day of the scheduled meeting room use. Applications must be submitted by an East Long Meadow resident who is 18 years or older, who will be in attendance at the meeting, and is the person held responsible for the conduct of the meeting and adherence to all regulations, including town bylaws and state and federal laws, and any resultant damages to library property. The application form includes permission to release the applicant's contact information in the event of public inquiries. The library reserves the right to require any individual or group to obtain and pay for an East Long Meadow police detail if the library director or town manager deems it to be in the interest of public safety. Failure to comply with this requirement will result in immediate cancellation of the scheduled event. When appropriate, advanced application may not be possible, as in the case of emergency or call meetings, the use of the meeting rooms may be approved at the discretion of the library director or designee. Meeting rooms are not available for use when the library is closed due to inclement weather or other emergency conditions. In the event of an unscheduled library closing, a group may reschedule another meeting time. Unscheduled closings will be posted on the library's website. Whenever possible, library staff will notify the applicant of the unscheduled closure. Should the library deny an application, the decision may be appealed in writing to the East Longmeadow Town Manager, 60 Center Square, East Longmeadow, Mass. 01028. The town manager will render a written decision within 14 days of the appeal. Conditions of use. A library staff member will check the room before and after use. Library staff must have access to the meeting room at all times. Activities for minors age 17 and under must be supervised at a ratio of 1 responsible adult per 15 minors. The applicant must notify the library at librarydirector@eastlongmeadowma.org of any cancellations or requested changes of the schedule at least 1 business day prior to the scheduled meeting time. The applicant must set up and take down the chairs, tables, and equipment as needed and clean up all trash from the room, placing it in appropriate waste and recycling containers. Items may not be affixed to the walls, trim, windows, or doors. The applicant must report to a library staff member any apparent damage prior to using the room in order to avoid being held responsible for the damage. The applicant takes responsibility for any damage to the library or its equipment caused by or resulting from the applicant's use of the room. The library is not responsible for items left behind or unattended either before, during, or after an event. Permission for an individual or group to meet at the library does not constitute or imply an endorsement of policies, beliefs, practices, or programs by the East Longmeadow Public Library, library staff, or the town of East Longmeadow. All publicity, such as advertisements, announcements, press releases, flyers, electronic postings, etc., must state the following. The meeting/event is not sponsored by the East Longmeadow Public Library. The meeting/event held in the library does not constitute an endorsement by the library, Board of Library Trustees, and/or Town of East Longmeadow of the individuals or groups' policies, beliefs, practices, or programs. The library director reserves the right to revoke the privilege of an individual or group during the program and/or for any future use of the library meeting rooms when it has been determined that there has been a misrepresentation by the applicant's stated purpose for a given meeting or for noncompliance with the meeting room policy. I stopped. Any comments?
I have one correction.
And then we can go on to the forms, but I'm just taking a little break from it.
Yeah.
It's a lot, right?
It's a lot.
On page 3, please, conditions of use, number 3.
Yep.
Got my email address wrong. It's libraryddirector@eastlongmeadowma.gov, not .org.
Oh.
So
Well, you're
change-
welcome.
Yes, so, .org.
That's confusing.
Well, because I think I had in the previous put eastlongmeadowlibrary.org, which is the website. and-
Exactly, that's the
I missed it,
confusing
so,
part.
There we go, thank you.
Anything else?
Sorry if it was loud.
No? Sound good? All right,
Good.
let's continue then.
Okay.
I'm going to do the best I can to read this form.
Thank you.
Application for East Longmeadow Public Library meeting room use includes date of application, meeting date, meeting time from and to, the name of the applicant, and the applicant is the person we refer to in the policy itself. Okay. Their phone number, email address, and address, and East Longmeadow, Mass. Is typed out because only residents of East Longmeadow are permitted to apply. The anticipated attendance and the room requested, conference room or community room, is checked off. Purpose of the meeting, check boxes as well. Charitable, must be able to provide 501c3 documentation upon request. Civic, cultural, educational, intellectual. Meeting description and blank space, and then special requests, blank lines. The applicant reserving the meeting room must attend the meeting and will be held responsible for any damages incurred and as described in the meeting room policy, guidelines, and application. Any comments on that section?
guess the presumption, I'm sorry, it's not really just to clarify, I guess the presumption is that if you check charitable, there has to be sort of a IRS registration for you.
I think we
Does
went
one-
back and forth on this
That's
one.
where the piece upon request was added. Those two
Right.
words, upon request, were recommended.
Right. But.
I don't think we're requiring it.
Oh, I see.
It's not required.
Required, it's just sort of,
upon request. If we
Right.
request it, then they need to be able to
but you can.
provide it.
But we cannot
I
request it.
cannot request it.
I'm sorry, you cannot, what?
I can.
You
or-
can.
I can request
Can or
it.
cannot, right.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And they
It's,
can
yeah.
choose to select a different option if they are not truly a
Charitable.
501c3
Right.
charitable group.
I'm unfamiliar, I mean, there might be people who hold themselves out as working a charitable effort without necessarily engaging the IRS. But
But like Amy
like you said,
I
you-
think
if
they
you
can
don't-
also,
If you don't ask, then that's okay
yeah.
too.
you can elect not to ask probably.
Right.
And then finally, this is the application and release of claims,
Oh, did I print this twice?
which
Oh, sorry. No,
No.
keep going, sorry.
I don't think so. It's wait.
It's like the next page.
Oh, no.
It's
My
all right.
fault. I read the header incorrectly. So this is still going on. This is still the
Yes,
application.
This is still the application.
My apologies,
The release of
everyone.
claims is on the next page.
My apology. That's
No, you're
my
good.
fault. So continuing on the application, the next page says, I have read the attached meeting room policy, behavior policy, safe child policy, and release of all claims and agree to abide by the terms. I also agree to allow library staff to provide my contact information in the event of public inquiries. We have a signature line, check here option if you would like a photocopy of the signed confirmed application. And note that meeting rooms are not officially booked until you receive a written confirmation from the library. We have for library use only of date application received, date confirmed or denied, confirmation made via email, email or mail, library staff name, and any comments.
Where it says reviewed by the Board of Library Trustees, that's March, it should be September.
I think we did review it in
23.
March of 2020.
No, we've been doing this for a very long time, but I didn't catch this one, so that needs to be September 2024.
Oh, okay.
It's been a very lengthy process, Gina.
Yeah, welcome to the
Wow,
board.
this is a lot.
Okay, now any other comments on the application? No. Seeing none, I will move to release of all claims, which has been trimmed down quite a bit from last time.
Oh, yeah, it looks like it, yeah.
Do you want to say anything about why it was trimmed down, or how, or should I just read it? I'll just read it. Release of all claims. I, name of individual executing this release, being allowed to participate in the use of the East Longmeadow Public Library meeting rooms and facilities, do hereby forever release, acquit, discharge, and covenant to hold harmless the said East Longmeadow Board of Library Trustees and the town of East Longmeadow, and their employees of and from any and all debts, demands, actions, causes of actions, suits, claims, and damages on account of or in any way growing out of, directly or indirectly, all known and unknown personal injuries or property damage resulting from the use of the East Longmeadow Public Library and parking area and any activities and programs offered therein. Executed as an agreement this blank day of blank in the year of blank. And then there's a line for a signature and a witness. And so the witness is the library director or designee.
So it'll be either myself or
Okay.
one of the staff members. So to go back to this piece, now that you've read it, there was some condensing and editing since the last version you saw last month. where we really just focused it as opposed to groups or organizations. It's the individual.
Right.
So there is one individual that is applying for use and they are the responsible party.
This is an admirably long sentence, I will say that. I think it's much better. Any comments?
Nope.
Yeah.
It's a little friendlier
Yeah, a
from the
little bit,
last one.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, David?
No, I don't know, it's, yeah, well, that's for lawyers, I guess, I don't know.
And this is, the town attorney went through this
Yeah,
many times and provided this as well.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Taking our feedback from the last meeting.
right.
Which was very helpful.
Any further feedback on this policy? Would anyone like to make a motion? We can make a motion to approve this, right?
No,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Check,
Yeah.
check, check.
Long sentence, but short and sweet.
Exactly, well, it's March,
Oh,
April,
sorry.
May.
With the changes that I'm going to make, sorry, apologies, where I have to make the edit on the dates, I will change the dates and I will change the email address
Yes,
with those changes. It
Right.
is approved with those changes, correct?
it is approved with the discussed minor changes. Okay, nice work, everyone. On to the next, which is our social media policy. Would anyone like to volunteer to read this one?
Sure, I'll read it. East Long Meadow Public Library Social Media Policy. Purpose. East Long Meadow Public Library uses social media to further extend the library's mission and vision to support lifelong learning, literacy, and cultural enrichment by providing access to information, knowledge, and ideas through its collections, services, and programs. The Board of Library Trustees, the Library Director, and library staff recognize the responsibility of East Long Meadow Public Library to support diverse points of view on different topics. The social media policy is intended to provide guidance for the development and presentation of social media content, which anticipate and meet the needs of our patrons. The American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, the Freedom to Read Statement, the Freedom to View Statement, and the First Amendment and censorship have been endorsed by the East Long Meadow Board of Library Trustees and are an integral part of this policy. Social media definition. In the context of this policy, quote, social media, close quote, is defined as any web application, site, or account created and maintained by the East Long Meadow Public Library, which facilitates an environment for library staff to share information about library-related subjects or issues. Examples of such sites include, but are not limited to, Facebook, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. For purposes of this policy, quote, content, close quote, is any material created by individuals or software, paren AI, close paren, including comments, information, articles, pictures, videos, or any other form of communicative content posted on East Long Meadow Library's social media sites. Responsibility for social media content. The ultimate responsibility for social media content, as with all library resources and services, rests with the library director, who operates within the framework of policies determined by the East Longmeadow Board of Library Trustees. The library director delegates social media content responsibility to other members of the professional staff. The process of content development and distribution involves the experience and knowledge of those staff members so designated by the library director. The East Longmeadow Public Library uses social media to develop and share content about library programs, services, resources, collections, and outreach to keep library patrons informed of library happenings. Library staff will periodically evaluate the role and utility of its online social media sites, which may be terminated at any time without notice to users. User responsibility. As with more traditional resources, the library does not act in place of or in the absence of a parent and is not responsible for enforcing any restrictions which a parent or guardian may place on a minor's use of the resource. Responsibility for a child's reading, listening, or viewing materials rests solely with their parent or guardian. As stated in Free Access to Libraries for Minors, an interpretation of the Library Bill of Rights, quote, libraries and their governing bodies cannot assume the role of parents or the functions of parental authority in the private relationship between parent and child. Libraries and their governing bodies shall ensure that only parents and guardians have the right and the responsibility to determine their children's and only their children's access to library resources. Parents and guardians who do not want their children to have access to specific library services, materials, or facilities should so advise their own children. Close quote. See Appendix A. There is no expectation of privacy on the East Longmeadow Public Library's social media sites. Users of all ages have a responsibility to protect their privacy. By posting on the library's social media sites, users give the library permission to utilize a user's name, profile picture, and content of any posting made without compensation or liability on the part of the library. The library does not collect, maintain, or otherwise use the personal information stored on any third-party networking site in any way other than to communicate with users on that site, unless granted permission by users for library contact outside the site. The purpose for contact outside the site may include program promotion, volunteer opportunities, reference help, or other similar activities. Users should be aware that third-party websites have their own privacy policies and should proceed accordingly. If any user does not agree to the terms of this policy, and all other library policies, they should not use the service. Disclaimer. Third-party content found on East Longmeadow Public Library's social media sites do not represent the official views of the East Longmeadow Public Library. The East Longmeadow Public Library accepts no liability for such content. Content perceived as containing any of the following, but not limited to, inappropriate forms of content shall be considered in violation of this policy, and then a sequence of bullet points. Conduct in violation of any federal, state, or local law, rule, or regulation. Information that may tend to compromise the safety or security of the public or public systems. Encouragement of illegal activity. Private, personal information published without consent. Content that promotes, fosters, or perpetuates discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, gender, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, genetic information, religion, age, family status, military status, or source of income. Profane, obscene, violent, or pornographic content and/or language. Personal attacks, insults, or threatening language. Potentially libelous statements. Plagiarized materials. Content in support of or opposition to any political campaigns or ballot measures. Commercial promotions or spam. Comments unrelated to the content of the forum. Hyperlinks to material that is not related to the discussion, any other content deemed inappropriate by the East Longmeadow Public Library. The East Longmeadow Public Library reserves the right to report to the social media platform and/or deny access to East Longmeadow Public Library's social media sites to any person who violates the East Longmeadow Public Library's social media policy at any time and without prior notice. By posting content, the user agrees to indemnify the East Longmeadow Public Library and its officers and employees from and against all liabilities, judgments, damages, and costs incurred, including attorney's fees, which arise out of or are related to the posted content. The library may disable comments on some library posts. The social media policy is subject to review and amendment by the Board of Library Trustees. Fini.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, and Appendix A is the American Library Association's free access to libraries for minors, an interpretation of the Library Bill of Rights with the appropriate URL, I presume. There it is.
I think we need to remove the AI. AI is not really software. Under social media definition, I think we either need to remove that parenthetical or further explain what we mean by AI.
Larry, do you want to discuss, because it was your recommendation to put it in?
We could add more, we need to add more detail around it, or we need to,
Well, does it make it clear if you say content is any material created by individuals or artificial intelligence? What do you think of that?
I don't understand why. Can you say more about what the concern is by having it there as a concern? Are we concerned about
So, for
artificial
example-
intelligence? Thank you.
For example, we use Constant Contact for our emails.
Mm-hmm.
There is an option that Constant Contact provides where it can help you generate your email blast, your content.
But
Or
we're
it can
still
help you-
responsible
Or
for
it
the
can help you
content.
rephrase.
But I hope we're not posting anything that a person hasn't reviewed.
Well, correct.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So I don't know why it matters if AI created it, as long as a person is reviewing the content prior to it being posted.
Well, then does that mean that we need to tweak the prior few words? Because content is any material created by individuals. Okay, well, let's say I go on these, I forget what they're called, like chat bot things or whatever, and I say, I want a photograph of a cat doing somersaults on a beach or something like that. I didn't create anything, but I may post it. I mean, that's a pretty benign example, but you can...
Then maybe we should change, I would add, because I
So
think
maybe-
it meant it would be posted by,
Yeah. Because there are
Material.
times where we might share an article from School Library Journal, or the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners has statistical data that they want to share out to the state. So we might share their post. We may add a
Right.
line to it to say, hey, check this out.
So then maybe that's a better,
So maybe that's the word that
that's
we
a better
use,
designation
posted.
than just anything that an individual posts
Yeah.
rather than creates.
Yeah, because that's a good point, right? Because we don't really know necessarily who
Who's
actually
creating
created it.
Right,
And in that case, the AI is a good example of,
right.
but,
Should
Right,
individuals-
and like Katie said, I mean, they could just be like posting somebody else like in support of a particular position. They repost something, that happens all the time.
So, or is it for purposes of this policy, content is any material posted, including comments, information, articles, pictures, videos?
yeah. I guess it doesn't matter who, so
Right.
who does, so the scenario we're talking about is like the library puts up a post of something and people comment on it. And this policy covers both our posting of the original posting and the comments underneath it, if we're talking like Facebook.
Right. So remove by individuals or software, including, for this purpose of content is any material posted. I'll leave the word including.
Right.
And then posted is later in the sentence too, but that's okay.
And I'm just,
Should that one say share?
Maybe it should be, sorry, Larry.
No, go
For
ahead.
purposes of this policy, content is anything, including comments, information, articles, pictures, videos, or any other form of communicative content posted on East Long Meadow Public
Oh,
Library's
there we
social
go.
media
Yeah.
sites.
As anything?
Anything,
is anything,
anything, or maybe it should be is anything posted on East Long Meadow Public Library's social media sites, and then put the including after sites. So it would be,
Oh, I see.
for
Right,
purposes
right.
of this policy, content is
anything
anything posted
posted.
on East Long Meadow Public Library's social media sites, including comments, information, articles, pictures, videos, or any other form of communicative content, period. How's that?
better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could you write that out for me?
I'll just put some
Thank you.
diagram.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Should we, I don't want to jump ahead if we're still working on this page.
I don't have anything else on this page.
Actually, I have, I think, two things. Wait, let's see. At the end of the second paragraph, there are all these listed things.
Should I?
Should there be links appended to them, or?
I feel.
There's a number of-
I feel like I had put those as appendix entries in one of the other policies, so I can add those in to the appendix. Or I can link it.
Right, I mean, right, because you're saying that these things are an integral part of this policy. And if someone's reading that, you need to, I think you need to
So I can
provide
link
them
it.
with a way to direct them to read these things. The Bill of Rights, the Freedom to Read Statement, the Freedom to View Statement, the First Amendment, and censorship.
Do you recommend that I link them or include them in the appendix?
However you'd like. I mean, I guess you could say in parens, see appendix links or something like that, is that? And that way you don't have to, or would you?
I would
wouldn't-
also, in addition to, I would put it in the appendix, and I would bullet this list, instead of having it in the paragraph. I think it's too long.
We have it in a different policy exactly like this.
And I said that one was okay. Darn it, I try to be so
I'm trying to be
consistent.
consistent.
I know, all right, fine, then we'll just put it in the appendix. That's fine.
I had one other thing, but let me just reread it in case I had a, let's see.
Do I just call it appendix as opposed to appendix A?
I think it would be appendix. If there's only one,
One, should it
it should
just
just
be
be appendix. And we could add an appendix B if you want. No?
If we need to, see appendix.
Or you could call it resources or references. Appendix is fine though.
Yeah, don't bother, never mind, it was unnecessarily specific. Okay.
No, I appreciate your specificity. I have one on page 3.
I have one on page 2,
Oh,
if no
okay,
one
let's
else
do you
does.
first.
Okay,
I think that the privacy expectation paragraph is problematic.
Where are you?
And so we say here, we say there's no expectation of privacy on the East Long Meadow Public Library's social media sites.
'Cause
That
we
I'm
don't
cool
have-
with.
That, we don't have control over that.
That I'm cool with. Also, users of all ages have a responsibility to protect their own privacy. That I'm also cool of. I'm not sure about this
So
third
if they're
sentence.
posting themselves on our site, that's different than a direct message.
I know.
So if they're posting,
I think it conflicts with the next paragraph. Because in the next paragraph, we say we don't collect it. Or use it.
there's a difference between using it and then storing and collecting it. So if somebody posts a comment on one of our, let's say we post something on our Facebook page about an upcoming program, and then somebody else, and this has happened, comments on that post and includes a picture or tags somebody else's name to kind of, hey, you might want to come to this too, I'm now tagging you in it. We might then respond to that. Does that make sense? Or I
No,
might
I don't
take-
understand, I don't
I might
understand.
take a screenshot of that and put it in my director's report.
however, you're saying in the second to last paragraph that the only use you are making of it is to communicate with the user.
Right.
But you just said something that isn't just communicating with the user, because you're saying
So-
that you might want to, you know,
So my thinking for this part
Yeah.
is like those direct messages. Somebody might private message the library because they need help registering for an event. And so there might be communication that's not on like our Facebook page
right.
because we don't, that was my thinking for this part here. That happens a lot, actually.
Oh,
Where people are trying to ask questions, did I register for this? We need to then use their information to find out, and then we would direct message them back, yes, you have, or no, here's the link. That's my thought process for this piece.
Okay.
I like this paragraph. The second to last one, I think is fine.
It's,
But I
we're
really,
trying
I'm
to,
struggling with this sentence here. By posting on the library, I'm gonna read it out loud just so I can process it. By posting on the library's social media sites, users give the library permission to utilize a user's name, profile picture, and content of any posting made without compensation or liability on the part of the library. I still don't understand what we're,
so it's,
So that covers what you just said? Like if you wanted to, somebody made a good point or something, and then you wanted to then go and share it with others?
I don't know why
or
we
somebody
would-
else.
Okay.
When you're physically in the building, there is an expectation of privacy, right? That what you're doing, not like,
Maybe when you're in the bathroom.
well, when you are, like,
You
let's
mean-
say the materials that you're borrowing, there's an expectation that that is your private, no one's gonna share that, we're not gonna share that out with anybody. But we can't control what other people are going to post or what's gonna happen with that content.
But we're saying that we're actually actively gonna do
But
something with it.
we might, not necessarily,
Okay.
but we might share that out or respond to it in some way.
We couldn't find Hamilton on DVD, but I guess they just started this meeting, you know. Do you have this?
Do you think, would
Well,
you like me
just-
to go back to the attorney and have him review that
I
line?
just don't know, I just think that, I feel like the second to last paragraph is enough, and I don't know why this is also necessary, because just like a casual reading of it, it sounds contradictory. Like, because in one sentence, we're saying, where the users give the library permission to use their information. And then in the next sentence, we're saying the library does not use the personal information. So
I guess maybe use is,
it might just be
or maybe not, utilize might not be the right word. By posting on the library's social media sites, users give the library, users maybe are just, they need to be aware, if they're posting on our page, other people can see it.
I think it's
And that-
the implication in this sentence is that the library is actively doing something unusual. Like, it seems like a normal thing, like if you post on a, because we do a good job here of saying, third-party websites have their own privacy policies, right? So maybe we should lead with this second to last paragraph, because the whole point is that you don't have the same expectation of privacy on our social media pages because we don't control them
Right,
as you do when you're in the building, which we do control.
right.
So I don't think that these two paragraphs really emphasize that, which is a very important point.
And if you want a prize, we have a prize first.
And I think it starts out well, right? There's no expectation of privacy.
So
But it's
you're-
because
you
we
recommend
don't
that.
control the sites.
Correct.
Right.
And we can't control if you tag you
Right.
on a social page.
Right. We are customers
Right.
of these platforms, and we use them as stated in the policy to communicate with people, because that's how people communicate these days. And there is no expectation of privacy, which I think is the point.
So is your recommendation to remove that sentence by posting on the library's social media sites? And that third paragraph up? And then combine those two paragraphs?
Yeah, maybe something like, and maybe this is already in here, so pardon me if it's not, but I think we should emphasize as much as possible that the social media sites are not under our control. And maybe just say,
Well, I
What do
mean,
you think?
you could say just that, what you just said. But I guess you have a Facebook page, and you are in control of that. And am I wrong in thinking that there was a recent case in the news not that long ago that held liability for one of these social media platforms, and kind of contrasted where, one, I don't know if it was X or I don't know, remember it was Facebook. One said, we're absolving ourselves. Everybody whatever they post, it's what they post. Whereas another of these platforms has sort of a department, they review things, they try, there's an effort made.
I think it's Instagram's rolling out a new
Is that,
policy there. Yeah.
So the decision kind of made me think, well, maybe they're going to start holding people responsible for things posted to the extent that they have some potential control over it. And you definitely, through staff and whatever, you have the ability to remove things and kind of review what people are posting. You're right, you don't have control over the platforms themselves, but you have like a subset of a platform, which is your page. And that's where people are posting things, so you do have control over that. I mean, I know it can be onerous the more involved you are in social media, and I'm really not the right person to make comment on this because I'm so outside I don't really have posts, I don't do any of this stuff, and I don't even know probably half the things that are potentially possible, that are possible in this.
There's a lot out there, there's a lot to consider, and it's trying to make sure that we are covering our options,
Right.
right? And that we're trying to make it clear to the public, to our patrons, what we are doing, and then what they should be aware of as users of this, of our social media sites. And we're trying to make them aware that, again, I'm gonna go back to this by posting on the library's social media sites. Let's say we have a big program, it's our summer reading program.
Yeah.
People will share pictures that they've taken at the
Right.
library.
Right.
And then we might use that in our thank you letter to our community.
Right.
Right.
Thank you for sponsoring our programming. It was a wonderful community event. Here's a picture to show you how many folks attended.
Right.
So it's not, I see what you're saying and I get it, but there was also a reason why I put it in there.
Sure.
I think it might just be in the wrong place.
It could be. There's a lot in here.
I think it might belong.
Again, we would, you know, would you like me to go back to the attorney?
No.
Yes?
I think so,
Not
yeah.
just yet. Well, I mean,
Oh, not yet.
not unless we can come up with
Yeah.
some ability to focus him on what it is that we're asking him to express, right? Otherwise, he's not going to know. I mean, if you just take it back, he'll go, well, I think this is good. It reflects what you want. It sounded like the second to the last paragraph, the way you described it, was in your mind dealing with a certain issue of a more limited nature. Or at least that's what it sounded like. What did you say, like messenger? When
Yeah,
people,
so sometimes patrons will, instead of calling us on the phone
Right.
for a reference interaction or coming to a public service desk, they might send a direct message
right.
to one of our social sites.
So maybe
And that's when we
maybe
might respond to
describing
something.
that makes that, I'm just sort of asking the question, not suggesting anything, but does that make it more relatable, and does it fit better if you sort of just describe that? Because when you're saying that the library doesn't collect, maintain, or otherwise use personal information other than, I don't know, do you limit yourself to Messenger, or
And that's
you
the
don't?
thing is,
You don't want to.
somebody might just post
Do
directly
something
to our
else,
page.
yeah.
You know, they just might post something directly on,
Right,
it doesn't necessarily need to be
right.
a direct message that's private, it could just be something that's open.
Yeah.
Can I provide an alternate wording that might work?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so we have, so I think we should do the privacy part first, right? And I think, so it would be, let me just read it. There is no expectation of privacy on the East Long Meadow Public Library social media sites. Users of all ages have a responsibility to protect their privacy. And then we would skip down to,
Users.
the library does not collect, maintain, or otherwise use the personal information stored on any third-party social networking site in any way, la 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 la. Then this whole paragraph I think is fine, and then I think it should be another little section that says, any posting made on the library's social media sites may be used by the library without compensation or liability on the part of the library, or something like that.
Can I piggyback off that?
Yeah.
So the last sentence in that third, or the second paragraph up, users should be aware that third-party websites have their own privacy policies and should proceed accordingly. Should that move up after the paragraph above it? Users of all ages have a responsibility to protect their privacy.
Yes.
So if this one moves up, and then the library does not collect, maintain, or otherwise goes next. And then, so, oh my gosh. Then your sentence, users who post to the libraries, say that again for me.
I said any posting made on the library's social media sites may be used by the library without compensation or liability on the part of the library.
Any posting made on the social media site.
On the library's social media sites may be used by the library without compensation or liability on the part of the library. Should we read the whole kit and caboodle?
Can I do it so I make sure I have
Yeah.
it? There is no expectation of privacy on the East Long Meadow Public Library's social media sites. Users of all ages have a responsibility to protect their privacy. Users should be aware that third-party websites have their own privacy policies and should proceed accordingly. The library does not collect, maintain, or otherwise use the personal information stored on any third-party social networking site in any way other than to communicate with users on that site, unless granted permission by users for library contact outside the site. The purpose for contact outside the site may include program promotion, volunteer opportunities, reference help, or similar activities. Any posting made on the library's social media sites may be used by the library without compensation or liability on the part of the library.
I think it's good. Larry?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's good.
that's
that
good.
is good.
Thanks.
Then you can go to the lawyer and make sure it's okay.
Yeah, you're just
We
kind of
didn't, we
rearranging
didn't
things.
change anything, we just
Yeah.
rearranged it.
Rearranged it a
Yeah.
little, yeah.
That makes sense, yeah.
It makes better sense.
Yep,
You've done it.
Exhausted.
good, thank you. Very helpful.
Because I put it on, gave us the consent to back, because I put it on hold.
I have a tiny one on page 3.
Oh yeah, we're not done yet.
Click those. In that kind of bulleted section,
Yeah.
my last bullet has a period and none of the others do.
Well, that's the end.
Is it
Wait a
okay?
minute.
It's the end of the list.
Yes, it does. But what about, isn't it grammatically correct, more correct to say hyperlinks to material that are, because they're plural?
The material is the
Singular?
though, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Materials.
That's,
I think it's modifying the material,
Okay,
not
I was fooled.
hyperlinks.
You could have swayed me though.
that's
Yeah.
all right.
You're never gonna get it okay. I'm the worst.
No, this is why you're incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, fourth bullet down. Is it redundant to say private personal information of others published without their consent? Or is it okay to just stand the way it is?
I think it could be their own or somebody else's.
I like leaving it.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fine.
it's implied, maybe. It's a good question. I think I was kind of noodling how these, like the order in which these are placed. I don't know if it was intentional, but it does seem to go from most serious to potentially least serious, so. And then we wrap it all up in a bow and anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was nicely done.
And that's the same for like the behavior policy.
Yeah.
Like in my heart, I want to make everything alphabetical, but it was kind of based on what are our highest priority
Yeah.
needs for behavior
Yeah.
expectations.
Okay.
Okay. Would you like me to
And like
make
what
these
you were,
edits?
sorry, I want to
Okay.
go back, Larry, to something you said earlier around, like our responsibility for managing content
Yeah.
that is posted on our site. And I think that is covered in this section here
Right, the last.
about the library can disable comments, the library is going to remove comments if they don't fit this policy. And I think as long as we actually do that,
Yeah,
we're satisfying what I think you were describing.
We're kind of giving ourselves different avenues here. We can
Right.
either report it if it hasn't already been
Right.
flagged by that social media site itself. We could report it and let them handle it. If there was a situation where we thought something needed to be removed, we would then contact the town manager and the town attorney before doing that,
right.
if appropriate.
Yeah.
And, or we just might have, and there might be social media platforms that don't allow comments, or we're going to turn them off for whatever reason, so
Yeah.
we're kind of giving ourselves some options.
Okay.
Would you like me to rewrite this and bring it next month?
Yeah,
Makes
That would be
sense.
good.
bring it for our
Yes.
next.
Okay. And Amy, can you give me your notes for this piece right here? For the social media definition?
Yes,
For purposes of
yes, I
policy,
had
so will you
committed to
send
do
that to me
that,
and then
yes,
we'll-
for sure.
Okay. Great, thank you all very much.
Okay, deep breath. Now, we have any new business? I don't see anything on the agenda. We do have a Friends of the East Long Meadow Library report, which I see is snuck in at the end of the packet. Would anyone like to read?
I'll give it a shot.
Thanks, Jean.
Thank you,
And please
Jean.
correct me if I pronounce someone's name wrong or a word wrong.
Don't worry, we'll
help
jump
me.
right in.
The report to the library trustees, September 2024. The Friends returned from its summer hiatus and met on Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. in the library's community room. Our first order of business was to welcome and introduce our two new board members, Melanie Convoy and Jennifer
Schweitzer.
Schweitzer? Okay, Schweitzer, thank you.
That's how I pronounce it.
No, thank you. We look forward to their fresh ideas, suggestions, and recommendations. Our board is complete with 13 members. Kate, or is it Katie?
She calls me Kate.
Oh,
but
okay.
It's me.
All right, I'm glad. Kate informed us of the reorganization of the Board of Trustees and the appropriate 5-year strategic plan. She provided us with, 1, the purpose of updating the library's website to be ADA compliant, 2, staffing changes, and 3, the coordination with the rec department to conduct teen programs at the Congregational Church on Friday afternoons. Morris informed the board that the Children's Department's Baby Chicks program that was such a big success last year will return on September 10th. At the an updated list of the Friends officers and directors was distributed prior to the meeting with no changes noted. Gift basket fundraisers, the calendar as to when they will take place was distributed prior to the meeting. It was suggested the baskets include a membership brochure and an attempt to inform the community. Tony Raskowski volunteered to give notice to our fundraisers to the reminder a month in advance. Laura Palmer and I met with the Friends accountant over the summer. Our tax return indicated that our organization qualified as a, quote, charitable private foundation, end of quote. The change requires us to pay an annual excise tax. The board acknowledged a thank you note from scholarship winner Audrey O'Neill. The Friends also received an email from Mara, Erica Petrosky, and Michelle Lemire expressing their appreciation for the funds received from the Friends and shared the impact the contribution made in helping them provide incentives, decorations, gift cards, etc. during the summer. In addition, they conveyed the number of participants, number of books, and a total number of minutes spent reading, which was a clear indication of another outstanding, successful summer reading program. Our community is so fortunate to have a wonderful library staff that provides them quality programs and events. The board discussed the dates in the month of October, where there will be an overlap of days for the basket fundraiser, the Celebrate East Longmeadow event, National Friends of Library Weeks, our annual membership drive, and the early in-person voting at the library. I am hoping for some volunteers to cover some of the activities. Lastly, I have been exploring options to provide a video conferencing platform that is, quote, user-friendly, end of quote, for those board members who want to participate but are unable to come to the meeting in person. There are 224 members. Our next meeting will take place on Tuesday, October 8th at 6:30. Respectfully submitted, Diane A. Tiago, President.
Thank you. Good job.
Not like the 3 or 4 pages you had to read. That was tough.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. Our next meeting is October 16th at 6 p.m. right back here in the library conference room. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was waiting for someone to say, no, I don't want to go home.